Europe pays for electricity as if it were at war, not by mistake, but because a decision was made in a Washington office that the Arctic is worth more than German industry. January 2026 is not just another date. It is the moment the narrative of the rules-based order breaks. In recent weeks, the United States has activated a survival doctrine that is no longer disguised. Predatory realism. The logic is brutal. If I can't beat you by competing, I squeeze you on resources, energy, and routes. Today you will understand three things that headlines are telling separately, but which are a single story. 1. Why Moscow let Venezuela sink without lifting a finger. 2. What lies beneath the ice of Greenland that is worth a total trade war with Europe. And 3. While the Pentagon flexes muscle with aging aircraft carriers, what China built in Peru to render part of that power irrelevant. This is not diplomacy, it is hostage-taking. Welcome to the reality of 2026. There are no longer good guys or bad guys. There are empires that fall clawing, powers that rise without asking permission, and countries that will have to choose a position before one is chosen for them by force. Chapter 1. The Arctic Trap and the Sacrifice of Europe. To understand why the European electricity bill is a mortgage and why Volkswagen is closing historic factories in Germany, stop looking at the Caribbean. Look north. Not at the snow, but at what lies beneath. The real reason Trump tried to buy Greenland. The press laughed when Trump wanted to buy Greenland years ago. Today, the Pentagon is in a cold sweat. The data is terrifying. China controls 44 million tons of rare earths and 90% of their processing. It is a technical checkmate. Without those minerals, there are no F-35s, no hypersonic missiles, no green transition. The United States, with barely 1.9 million tons, lost that tech war before firing the first bullet. Greenland is NATO's only lifeline. It possesses the world's largest deposits of dysprosium and neodymium. It is the only reserve capable of breaking the Chinese monopoly. And Washington has decided to obtain it, not by negotiating, but by strangulation. The 10% tariffs against Germany and the Nordics are not a trade dispute. They are explicit extortion. The threat is clear. If by June 2026 Europe does not cede functional sovereignty of the Arctic to US miners, tariffs will rise to the level of total destruction. The Make Greenland Great Again Act is explicit. Either Europe hands over the resources or its automotive industry dies. Europe has no choice. It fell into the perfect trap. It swapped dependence on cheap Russian gas for dependence on expensive American gas, believing it was the price of freedom. In 2019, US LNG was 4% of imports. Today it exceeds 58% and rising. The gas Europe needs to breathe has a single owner, Washington. BASF, the chemical giant, is not turning off its machines in Germany because they are old. It is turning them off because flipping the switch there costs 4 times more than in Texas or China. It is not a crisis, it is a forced relocation. It is the deindustrialization of a continent in real time. You cannot shoot at the one selling you oxygen. Europe will pay the bill for America's mineral security with its own prosperity. While Europe suffocates, the Caribbean reorders itself. Same logic, different tool. Chapter 2. The Venezuelan Swap, Realism versus Ideology. While the North freezes, the Caribbean reorders itself with accounting coldness. To understand why Putin let Maduro fall without firing a shot, forget socialist brotherhood and think of assets and liabilities. By 2026, Maduro was an unsustainable liability for a Russia burning its daily budget on the Donbass front. Intelligence already knew the Kremlin had been seeking a swap for some time. Freedom of action for Washington in Caracas in exchange for the United States recognizing de facto the Russian sphere in Ukraine. It wasn't a conspiracy, it was the market. With the Russian army stretched to the limit, the deal was closed in the shadows. Russia didn't betray Venezuela. It saved Russia by sacrificing an indefensible pawn to secure its border, validating the brutal return to 19th century spheres of influence. The proof that this is a corporate transaction is who governs today. Washington didn't install Maria Corina Machado. It validated Delcy Rodriguez. Why? Because the physics of refineries doesn't understand ideologies? The Gulf Coast refining complex, the largest in the world, suffers from an addiction that Texas fracking cannot cure. Shale oil is light and sweet. The refineries of giants like Valero or Citgo are designed for heavy and sour crude. Without Venezuelan crude, they operate at a loss or depend on Canada. Trump isn't looking for ballot boxes. He's looking for specific barrels with a chemical composition that Mexico no longer exports. The result is global resource laundering. The oil that yesterday went to China at a discount in the ghost fleet today flows legally and at market price to Texas. The predatory realism move is twofold. You lower gas prices for the American voter before the elections and cut off the cheap supply to China, forcing Beijing to pay inflated prices on the open market. Venezuela didn't change regime. It changed its main client in a hostile merger and acquisition. The Chavista structure remains to guarantee the flow and avoid a civil war. And democracy is just the marketing slogan to sell the intervention. The United States secures barrels, China secures routes, and Russia secures its border. By dropping the Caribbean ballast, Moscow buys the only thing money can't pay for, the West looking the other way, while it consolidates Eastern Europe. That is the board. Chapter 3: The Silk Road versus the Tariff Wall. While the United States spends political capital on tariff wars and regime changes, China plays applied physics. Welcome to Chancay, Peru, kilometer zero of the New World Operating System. It is not a port. It is the logistical death of the Monroe Doctrine. Until yesterday, South America was a geographical prison. Brazilian soy and Chilean copper had to cross the Panama Canal under Southern Command surveillance or go around the continent, taking up to 40 days to reach Shanghai. It was a bottleneck designed for North American control. Chancay broke the cage. With a massive investment from Costco Shipping, transit time dropped to 23 days. That cost reduction is a profit margin that no Trump tariff can erase. And what terrifies the Pentagon is the silicon. Chancay is the first total smart port, operated by private 5G networks and automated cranes. While California ports suffer strikes and inefficiency, in Peru, autonomous trucks move containers with surgical precision, imposing Chinese technological standards. Beijing doesn't just build docks. It exports the digital standard of global trade. The impact is devastating. Brazil no longer needs the Atlantic or Panama. China's food security decouples from NATO-controlled routes. It is logistical checkmate. If Washington wanted to block supplies in a war, the route no longer passes through its controls. The doctrinal difference is abysmal. The United States offers marines, sanctions, and walls. China offers high-speed trains and deep-water ports. In the market of 2026, concrete generates more solid loyalties than diplomatic threats. Chancay proves that Latin America has, for the first time, a functional escape route from northern hegemony. While Washington builds walls to keep you out, China builds ports to get you out. Conclusion: the bifurcated world. What does this January 2026 really tell us? If we connect the dots, from the heavy crude of the Orinoco to the neodymium of Greenland and the automated docks of Peru, the image is terrifying. The rules-based order is dead. It was not replaced by multipolar peace, but by an architecture of segregation, where powers compete for biological survival. We see the consolidation of two blocs with incompatible operating systems. The Western Bloc has entered strategic cannibalism. A hegemon unable to compete commercially with Asia devours its European allies and confiscates resources on its periphery to maintain its machinery. The capture of Maduro was liquidation asset collection. The ultimatum to Greenland is material requisition. German deindustrialization is the deliberate price to reindustrialize North America. Facing this, the Eurasian bloc responds with infrastructure and physics, not ideology. Russia sacrifices pawns in the Caribbean for secure borders in Ukraine. China responds to the naval encirclement not with fleets, but with ports like Chancay that rewrite global logistics and render Panama irrelevant. The lesson for the rest is brutal. If you are European, prepare for structural impoverishment. Your prosperity was a geopolitical loan that the United States has just canceled. If you are Latin American, look closely at Caracas. There are no magic saviors, only powers that see you as a logistical partner or as a gas station. The division of the world already happened while we were watching the news. There are no longer international laws, only national capabilities. At this gaming table, the only rule is to be on the side of those dealing the cards. Because if not, rest assured, you are part of the menu. And now I ask you, from your country, do you feel that your government is sitting at the negotiating table? Or that they are already being served on the plate of some power? Leave me your opinion below. Geopolitics is decided on maps, but it is suffered on the street. But before you go, a final warning. We are conditioned to think of collapse as a sudden event, a bomb, a market crash, a blackout. But the shift I just described is far more dangerous because it is silent. It is the normalization of decline. In the coming months, you will notice the narrative changing. You will be told that paying triple for energy is patriotic. You will be told that rationing imported goods is ecological. The media will rebrand your structural impoverishment as a necessary sacrifice for national security. Do not accept that narrative. Keep your eyes on the small print. Watch the quiet bankruptcies of mid-sized companies in Europe. Watch the currency devaluations in South America. The noise of the political headlines is there to distract you from the silence of the factories closing down. The map has already changed. The only question is, how long will it take for you to realize you are living in a completely different country than the one you were born in? See you in the next report.